Welcome back, investors, to Ticker Time News. I'm Adam, and today we're talking about Workhorse, ticker symbol WKHS. Workhorse shot up over 28% at one point today on the news that a bill was being introduced to Congress to fund the USPS an additional $6 billion to build electric vehicles. Now, is this good news for Workhorse, or is this good news for Oshkosh Defence? That's what I want to break apart today in this video. But first, real quick, I have just one request. Before we dive into the details that you came here to see, smash the like button and click subscribe and join our family of investors. Let's get back to it. First off, Workhorse Group gets wind in its sails as U.S. lawmakers want to give USPS $6 billion for EV delivery vehicles. A group of 17 U.S. House Democrats on Monday introduced legislation that would award $6 billion to the U.S. Postal Service to buy tens of thousands of additional electric delivery vehicles. Now, just to side note and make a comment here. This is an additional $6 billion. This isn't the current $6 billion contract. So, if this legislation and bill passed, this would be a total of $12 billion for the USPS to electrify their entire fleet of vehicles. Okay, back to what it says. The bill, sponsored by Rep. Jared Hoffman, would require at least 75% of the new fleet to be electric or zero-emission vehicles. The legislation is backed by key Democrats in key positions, Chair of Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and the Chair of the Oversight and Reform Committee that oversees the USPS. The bill would also require no less than 50% of medium and heavy-duty vehicle purchases to be electric or zero emissions through 2029, and all USPS vehicles to be zero emission by January 2040. So what that is saying, the postal trucks that you see driving down the neighborhoods, delivering mail to every mailbox, those are going to need to be all electric or zero emissions. The FedEx sized vehicles or the UPS vehicles that deliver packages around communities, those bigger vehicles, those are the medium to heavy duty vehicles that from now through the year 2029, 50% need to be electric or zero emissions. And then by 2040, 100% all of the medium and heavy duty vehicles need to be electric or zero emissions. So let's go back and refresh ourselves. What did the USPS contract actually give Oshkosh Defence? This is important to note for this new bill circulating through Congress. Under the contract's initial $482 million investment, Oshkosh Defence will finalize the production design of the Next Generation Delivery Vehicle, or NGDV, a purpose-built right-hand drive vehicle for mail and package delivery, and will assemble 50,000 to 165,000 of those vehicles over the next 10 years. The vehicle will be equipped with either fuel-efficient internal combustion engines or battery electric powertrains, and can be retrofitted to keep pace with advances in electric vehicle technologies. The initial investment includes plant tooling and build-out for the U.S. manufacturing facility where final vehicle assembly will occur. Now, the first NGDVs are estimated to appear on carrier routes by the year 2023. The NGDV vehicles will include air conditioning and heating, improved ergonomics, and some of the most advanced vehicle technology, including 360-degree cameras, advanced braking and traction control, airbags, a front and rear collision avoidance system that includes visual, audio warning, and automatic braking. So those are systems that must be included in the final last mile delivery vehicle. Now, the award is an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract, meaning that after an initial dollar commitment, the Postal Service will have the ongoing ability to order more NGDVs over a fixed period of time, in this case, 10 years. Oshkosh Defense is evaluating which of their several U.S. manufacturing locations is best suited to potentially increase the production rate of the NGDV. So I'm thinking here that one of the reasons the USPS chose Oshkosh Defense over Workhorse is that last statement, that Oshkosh Defense has several manufacturing plants across the United States to produce. If the U.S. Postal Service comes in and say, hey, we need 10,000 vehicles this year, okay, they can do it. But then the U.S. Postal Service comes in and say, hey, we need 165,000 this year. Are you going to be able to increase your manufacturing that quickly to produce those vehicles? That's a question, and probably one of the factors swinging between Oshkosh Defense on one side and Workhorse on the other side. Just something to keep in the back of your mind and think of. Now, getting back to the bill, there are several, at least 17 members of Congress who do not like this deal with Oshkosh. And the main reason is the fact that 90% of the vehicles will be gasoline, and only 10% will be electric. One member of Congress, Ms. Capter, she actually went to the House floor to give a brief speech. And here's some of the key parts that she said. She said, I rise with great concern regarding the recently announced contract between the United States Post Office and Oshkosh Defense for the construction of 165,000 postal vehicles over the next decade, all new. There is no doubt our postal fleet is aging. The Grumman LLV, in service since 1994, is gas-powered and lacks basic safety equipment like airbags or air conditioning. Unfortunately, this contract lacks any commitment to make these vehicles new age, either electric, hybrid, or advanced biofuel. While new vehicles are said to be capable of incorporating an electric drivetrain, Postmaster General recently indicated only 10% of the new fleet will be electric. 10%? That makes no sense and flies in the face of the Biden administration's recent order to electrify the federal fleet. As such, the administration and the Postal Service must delay the contract until a review is conducted, and that the proposed contract is consistent with Biden's executive order. So that was a note, again, from Ms. Capter from the House floor talking about the USPS Oshkosh Defense contract. Now, there's something else interesting here. Several members of Congress also sent Joe Biden, or President Biden, a letter. And here's the important parts in the letter here. So, dear Mr. Biden, we applaud you on your plan to help rebuild our nation's manufacturing sector, your commitment to electrifying the federal fleet. Electrifying the federal fleet. So, we know that members of Congress want electric or zero-emission vehicles. We also know that the Biden administration wants electric or zero-emission vehicles. We know that Workhorse offers electric zero-emission vehicles. We know that the current contract with Oshkosh Defense and the USPS is only offering 10% of the total amount of vehicles with an electric drivetrain. Okay, so we know the USPS said last month that it awarded the $482 million contract to Oshkosh Defense to finalize production for the next generation postal vehicle. rejecting a proposal from electric vehicle maker Workhorse Group, which met last week with the USPS to question its decision. Workhorse CEO, after the USPS meeting, said, "Meeting with USPS marked the first step in what we expect to be a prolonged process to explore our options and possibly pursue further action related to our NGDV bid." Now, in January, President Joe Biden vowed to replace U.S. government's fleet of roughly 650,000 vehicles to electric models. The federal government, and this is what President Biden said, quote, "The federal government also owns an enormous fleet of vehicles, which we're going to replace with clean electric vehicles made right here in America by American workers." According to the Postmaster General, asked what it would take to buy 90% EV, maybe flip this contract on its head, 90% EV and 10% gasoline. And the Postmaster General told lawmakers last month, quote, "We don't have the $3 or $4 extra billion in our plan right now that it would take to do it." Okay, so let's break down what we know. We know the U.S. Postal Service had a contract to replace its aging fleet, some vehicles on the road for nearly 30 years. We know for a fact that the contract went to Oshkosh Defence. We know that contract was $6 billion, and we know that the initial monetary portion of that contract was $482 million. Now, we also know that Workhorse was a finalist and was not selected. We know that Workhorse met with the USPS to talk about what happened, what can we do. We know for a fact that Oshkosh Defence has multiple manufacturing facilities across the United States, so they have plenty capacity to build any number of vehicles that come their way. We know that Workhorse has their main factory, and we know in an interview that was done with the CEO of Lordstown Motors that they could potentially help out Workhorse if needed in the manufacturing process. We know that members of Congress are mad, straight up mad, about the contract going, not so much about who the contract is going to, but what the contract is going for. 90% gasoline engine type vehicles, not electric. Only 10% will be electric powertrains. The other thing that we know that a bill was introduced to Congress to give the United States Postal Service another $6 billion. All right, let's hop over to the chart and look at the stock price action for Workhorse today. So in this area right here, this is what Workhorse did today. Workhorse had a low at the open of $13.38 a share. Then the news came out about the 17 members of Congress who were submitting a bill to fund the USPS an additional $6 billion for electric vehicles. At that moment, Workhorse stock shot up over 28%. That's what you see in this green candle right here. And then, after shooting up, immediately sold off and then came back down to an interesting level. So, last week, Workhorse had $13.50 as a support area for the stock. And it was using $15 as resistance. Well, $15 used to be support for Workhorse, and then it fell some more when we had the whole EV sector sell off. And then today, after Workhorse came back down and started to settle, Workhorse settled right here. It hung right in this range right here, and I find that interesting. Is this going to become new support like it was a few weeks ago? Or is it going to fall back down below this and be resistance again? So it's going to be interesting to watch tomorrow and for the rest of the week to find out whether this news about Congress introducing a bill in the House is going to have an impact and give Workhorse momentum to push the stock price higher, or if it's ran its course and the price is now baked in and it's just going to consolidate. So that's Workhorse right now. Oshkosh, on the other hand, this big green oval you see here, this was when the contract was awarded to Oshkosh Defence. They shot up, and it wasn't nearly as much. If I mark it out right here for you real quick, let's see that line right there. They went up 22% on the news of the contract. Workhorse went up over 28% in a few hours today just on the news of a bill being introduced to Congress. So, more excitement, more enthusiasm for Workhorse over Oshkosh Defense. That is for sure. So Oshkosh today, it went up a little bit too because of the news. That's what you see this green candle at the open was today. But then it sold off and eventually came in down 0.97% on the day. All right. I hope you got a ton of value from this video. I know I did going through it with you. Make sure to smash that like button and click subscribe and join our family of investors. We're here to support and help each other. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.